Fighter and the Kid Army, we have one hell of a special for you guys. We decided to do this one. You know, we've had entertainers on, we've had fighters on, celebrities, whatever you want to call them. But this is a special one for us. This is a show with a couple of my friends who reached out, wanted to come on the show because they have one hell of a message. My man Tim Medvetz and Charlie Linville. Let me tell you something about these guys before they come in here into the studio. Tim Medvetz is a guy, he was a Hell's Angel, and he has started this Heroes Project that helps wounded veterans climb, listen to this, climb Mount Everest. Guys, you know, if you look at the video, you guys do your research, you can see the 60-minute project that he did. Wounded veteran, no legs, climbs Mount Everest. I mean, this is some crazy shit. So for you guys out there, maybe you're doing the Slim Down with Big Brown challenge. Maybe you're going through some stressful times in your life. I want you to listen to the show and listen to Tim and Charlie talk. And if this doesn't inspire you, I don't know what will. And just a few things about my man Tim before he comes in here. One, handsome as shit. He might be the best looking Hell's Angel we've ever seen. Usually, you know, you see Sons of Anarchy. They should definitely scripted this guy in Sons of Anarchy. You bet your ass I'm asking about Sons of Anarchy. How legit is Sons of Anarchy? Let's just get that out of the way. Two, as a Hell's Angel, I mean, I think America has this obsession with Hell's Angels. I know I do. I want to be in a biker gang. I'm just not tough enough. They would make me an enforcer. I have feelings. If I come to get money at you and you're like, listen, I can't do it this week, I got to pay for the kids. I'm like, all right, you know what? I'll be back next week. So I can't do it. So I want to get into that with Tim. I don't know how far he's going to go with the Hell's Angel thing because he's here to promote the Heroes Project, and which is why I want him on the show to promote the Heroes Project. I would just like to dive into the Hell's Angel thing. So we're going to get into that. And also, what you guys need to know is my man Tim, there's a rumor that he is with Cher. Hold. Yes, that Cher. The famous as shit Cher. He's tied to Cher. Now, I know he was in the motorcycle business. He makes motorcycles for celebrities. So I don't know if they're just friends, whatever. But the rumor is that him and Cher are supposed to get married. So we'll see what he has to say about that. But most of all, for you guys out there listening to this right now, we're releasing this. You'll get it on a Sunday morning. I just want you to hear this message. You're talking to a guy, Charlie. He's coming in here. He's missing a leg. He's from Idaho. He's been training for 2 years to climb Mount Everest. You want to talk about being against the odds. I mean, it's crazy. So for you guys looking for motivation, for you guys out there struggling with your daily lives or you're going through something, I guarantee you come away from this Fire and Kid episode with a different outlook on things. So I present to you one hell of a show in my man Tim and Charlie. Enjoy. What is up, guys? This is the Fire and the Kid. This is one special edition of the Fire and the Kid. I have two friends with me that you guys are going to love. My man Charlie, my man Tim here. I can't thank you guys enough. I know you guys are busy. You guys are super busy. But you took some time to come to the Fire and the Kid. And I think once people hear your story, you're going to get a lot of support from our fans. 100%. They're going to be on board. How the heck... I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself because I don't want to do you wrong. But, Tim, if they remake those Dos Equis commercials, the most interesting man in the world, I feel like they should use you because just doing my homework, researching you, looking you up, when Evan, our producer, Evan the Beard, was like, hey, what do you think of having Tim on? I was like, yeah, sure, you know. And then you look it up, you're like, what the hell? Like, tell people a little bit about yourself.
Well, I mean, look, if I stop dyeing my beard, and I might look like the Dos Equis guy, you know. So, I mean, look, man. In the end, you know what? I wouldn't put that label on me, but in the end, I'm gonna
put that label on you.
Listen, man, I'm just a small town kid from the great state of New Jersey, man. You know, and that's what it really comes down to. And I don't forget where I came from. And,
yeah.
But something inside me when I turned 18, you know, and you know where I grew up in Jersey. you know, you could see Manhattan, the skyline from like the highest point in our town. And so just something kind of just drew me into it. So as soon as I hit 18, man, I was right to New York City, and then, you know, went up to Canada, and then I was 20 years old, never left the country except Canada. It doesn't really count, right? And then it was right around when UFC started. And Royce Gracie, this little Gracie guy, was just dominating. You know? And that was when it was really cool because it was the guy had to fight 3 fights in a night.
Yeah, no rules.
Yeah. And so, and it just so happens, you know, I'm living in Manhattan and I'm dating a Brazilian girl. And so she's like, oh, let's go visit my family down in Brazil. I'm like, oh, yeah, great, man. I could take some jiu-jitsu lessons. And we went down to Brazil, and I was there for 2 weeks. And I went to the Gracie Dojo in Botafogo.
Oh, wow.
In Rio, and I was like, this is it, man. I'm coming back. And not to mention, it's like, you know, the ass capital of the world.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
And I was 20 years old and single. So, well.
Still the ass capital of the
Still
world.
the ass
Yeah, I was
capital
just
of the
down there. Still the ass capital.
Yeah. And so that was it, man. And I came back to the States in 6 months of just, you know, didn't go out, worked my ass off. I was a bouncer in New York City. And saved up all my pennies, and boom, got on the next plane 6 months later and literally moved to Rio, man. I was 21 years old, single, had a little yellow dune buggy, lived on the beach in Copacabana.
Dude, I'm not mad at this at all.
And yeah, it was great. I'd go to the gym in the morning, and then I'd go to the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu at night. And it was funny because, you know, I would train with Hoyler and Holker, 2 brothers, you know, younger brothers. But I would do one private a week with Helsio, the father.
Okay.
You know, and so here I am. I'm 6'5", I'm 280 pounds, and here's this little frail 70-year-old man in a gi that's half my size.
He's just tearing you up.
And the first session I had with him private, we kind of getting close, and I had this big long beard, man. My goatee was like, I don't know, probably about a half a foot long. And he looks at me and he's like, luta, you know, fight.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at him like, what? Come on, man. The guy's like 70, right?
I don't want to break your leg. Yeah.
I'll destroy you, you know? And I started kind of getting a little closer, and he kept saying, luta. And just as I got like kind of really close to him, and he got angry I wasn't doing anything, and he said, luta. And I kind of took one more step, and he just grabbed my beard, yanked it down, flipped around me, put me in a chokehold, and pulled me back. And next thing you know, I'm on the ground, and he's got me choking, and I'm just spanking like a little girl.
Were you sold after that on jiu-jitsu?
Well, I'll tell you what I did that night. I went and shaved that goddamn beard off.
100%.
You know?
100%.
And that was, you know, and I ended up staying down there for 2 years and trained with those guys 5 nights a week. And I wanted to be a big cage fighter, you know.
Yeah.
And that was what I wanted to do then. And then I got back to the States and really didn't do it. But I made my purple belt down there.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, and so it was a great experience, but that's probably about as close to the MMA world as I've gotten, you know. So
well, and then somewhere along the lines, and I have to ask this, where the hell did the Hells Angels come into play?
Well, actually, it was from Brazil, and so
what?
So when I was down there, I said I want to get a tattoo, you know, being down here, right? And so I just walked into some tattoo shop, and you know, there's all this Hells Angels, you know, signs up and posters all over the walls, and the guy who owned the tattoo shop was the Hells Angel, the Rio charter. And next thing we just, of course, just hit it right off, and we were buds. And next thing you know, I'm hanging with those guys, and pretty much hung with them for like the 2 years I was down there. So just fighting and hanging out. I wasn't riding because Harleys down in Brazil are like, you know, fuck man, like $60,000 for a Sportster, you know.
Yeah, and it's super dangerous down there.
Yeah, I mean, I yelled dune buggy, and that was enough. But that's where I met the club, and then. But I wasn't, you know, obviously I'm not going to live down there, and so I didn't really make the move. And then I came back to New York and then hung out in the city and met the guys in the New York City charter. But I still wasn't ready to make the move, and I just had this, like, you know, something was calling me to California. And in 1998, I loaded up the old lady on the back of the bike and came out to L.A. and shacked up at this hooker motel up on Sunset and tried to find a place to live. And I was going to stay here for like 6 months. And then that 6 months turned into I'm still here, and that was 1998. And then when I got to California, it was kind of a culture shock, you know. And coming from being a bouncer in New York City, where, you know, we're making $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a week bouncing. You know, people grease your palm, you're making money at the door, you know, you're fighting every night. And then I come out here, and I get a gig at some club down in Melrose called the Gem. And it was just like, you know, people don't fight in L.A. in the clubs.
Not really.
Not
no,
really.
they're all small actors.
Yeah. And then I'm at the
they
door, and the guy's
mess
like,
up their hair.
yeah, and the guy's at the, you know, I'm at the door, and the guy's like, oh, you know, let me in. You know, I'm so-and-so's agent or manager, and I know this person. And I'm just like, I don't care who you know.
Yeah.
Benjamin Franklin, that's who I want to meet. And people look at you like, huh? But that was the New York bouncer mentality, you know, and it worked like a charm in New York, especially in the winter when it's, you know, 10 degrees outside. People don't want to wait outside.
Yeah.
And in L.A., we don't have the weather. So that was kind of tough. And then, of course, you know, I go to the gym, and guys are waxing their eyebrows, and it was just the whole
to LA, man.
Everybody wants to be a friggin' movie star. And I had a real hard time in L.A. And so, boom, of course, bam, found out where the local Hells Angel charter was. And I was just ready to make the move. And I was 28 years old, getting ready to turn 29. And at 29, you can no longer be eligible to be a Marine. And so I went into the Marine recruiting office, and I said, all right, talk to me about this. I was building motorcycles at the time. Talk to me about this reserve thing. And he says, yeah, well, you got to make your decision by tomorrow, because once you're 29, you're no longer eligible to be a Marine. And so I had a hot model girlfriend. You know, I got my chopper. I'm building Harleys for all
the Brazilian's out of the picture.
Brazil's
You ditched her when you got to LA.
She's done, man.
See ya.
See ya. Gone. Gone. You
LA
know?
women's a different story.
Now I
man.
got me a 6-foot model. I'm doing good. I'm on top of the world.
Welcome to LA.
Yeah. And he told me, he says, well, you got to make a decision by tomorrow if you want to come aboard with the Marine Corps. And I said, all right. You know, and I couldn't sleep that night. And the next morning I just said, you know what? I'm making over $100,000 a year building bikes for all these rock and roll people, and had a hot girlfriend, lived in Hollywood, and I was just like,
tough
yeah.
to go to war. It's
and
tough to go to war.
So that was my Marine Corps story. So obviously, instead of joining the Marine Corps, I joined the Hells Angels instead. so different kind of military.
And so the way, and we're gonna get to you, Charlie. We're gonna get to you, my man. Don't fall asleep on me.
Yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah, but so your introduction to the Hells Angels was in Brazil. Yeah. Right, and then you get to New York, and you become buddies with the Hells Angels in New York. Yeah. But you're not a prospect at the time.
No,
right?
no. I'm just a friend.
So when you become a prospect, that's saying I want to be a Hells Angel.
Pretty much.
Because I think it's a little confusing for people, because you see Sons of Anarchy and all that bullshit. Is that
my favorite show?
Is it your favorite show? You hate it. You hate it.
It's not my favorite show.
Do you hate it?
It's the stupidest show on the planet.
Because it has to be similar to like fighting movies for me or MMA shows for me. They're ridiculous. I watch them like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, you look at those moves they make.
You make
like,
fun
that's
of
not
it, right?
possible. Yeah, I mean.
So
look,
is Sons of Anarchy at all close to how it is being a Hells Angel?
I can explain it to you real quick. Okay?
I'd love to hear it.
All right, this is basically how you explain that. So you know these
I can't wait for this.
The Anarchy guys, right, are like this small town in Northern California, right? You know, and you know, they sell guns, right, and stuff. They're gun runners and stuff, right? And you know, all I could tell you is this about the outlaw bike world, okay? Me, as a big white boy, I've never sold a gun to a Mexican guy or a black guy, okay?
Yeah.
I buy the guns from the Mexican and the black guys. And on that stupid show, it's like the white guys, you know, Suburbia USA are selling guns to, you know, every gangbanger. It's like, what? That's not, come on,
That's not
man.
how you guys work. That's not how it works.
Yeah, I want a gun, I go down in East LA, you know, or down to Compton.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, your time with the Hells Angels, there's no getting out, right? There's like, once you're a Hells Angel, you're a Hells Angel for life. Oh, you're out.
Yeah, I'm out.
See, I'm used to Sons of Anarchy bullshit. I figured once you're in for life.
No, I mean, there's ways of going out nicely, and there's ways of going out not so nicely.
Like a punk,
yeah. And so, luckily for me, I was out nicely. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure you've had some crazy times with the Hells Angels, and I think a lot of people don't realize is Hells Angels do a lot of good work, right?
A lot of good work.
They get a bad rap, right?
Bad rap because of
the shows on the History Channel or A&E, right? It's like America's Most Wanted, all that bullshit.
Gangland USA.
There you go, right? You know, so they paint this bad picture.
I mean, look, here's the thing. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and lie to your audience. You know, I mean, like, you get one or two guys that, you know, sell some dope or, you know, end up, you know, sticking a knife in somebody. And they went off the path and they shouldn't have done that, whatever. They end up in jail, but they're wearing the same patch that I'm wearing on my back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's the problem, is that now all of a sudden I'm labeled as, you know, a murderer and a drug dealer just because I'm wearing the same patch. And that's the media portrays. You get one or two guys that are a bad seed.
That's anything, though.
Fucked up,
that's UFC. A guy gets busted,
Anything,
you know, doing steroids. All of a sudden, I meet a executive at some high up company. He goes, "Isn't that what you guys do?" It's like, no, man, that's one guy out of 400.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like any club in the world, you know.
So then you get done with the Hells Angels. You're in LA, and what brought you to the Heroes Project and all this? How did you and Charlie get together?
Yeah, so the short version is, so, you know, now I'm out of the club. I get on the next plane. I fly to Nepal.
Why? First of all, why'd you get out of the club?
Okay, so I had a bad motorcycle accident. I pretty much broke every bone in my body. I got 2 metal plates in my head, steel cage in my back, metal plates in my knee, 10 screws in my left foot. I got 2 metal plates and 20 screws in my right hand. So my whole body's been, you know, rebuilt with metal.
So you're like Wolverine.
Pretty much.
You're like Wolverine.
Yeah. I couldn't grow them sideburns. Nor would I want to. Anyway, so I get into the accident, and then, you know, kind of went through the self-destructive phase, you know, the Vicodins and the booze, you know, and the blow, and like just trying to numb the pain, and like, you know, I'm on top of the world. The next thing you know, I'm like, you know, I'm on a walker, you know, and a cane. And so I just get this bright idea that, you know what, screw these doctors. I'm going to go shock the world.
Because the doctor said you wouldn't walk,
doctors,
right?
Yeah, you're not going to
do shit.
Yeah, and so I'm like, you know, I'm going to shock the world. I'm going to shock the doctors, and I'm going to shock myself. I'm going to go climb Mount Everest, right? And so I literally, you know, got on a plane, bought an open-end ticket, moved to Nepal, got on a helicopter and flew up to this Everest region and lived with a Sherpa family for a year and just trained. And, you know, my mentality has always been in my life that, look, you want to be a cage fighter, you want to be, you know, an MMA guy, well, you got to train with the baddest motherfuckers in the world, right? And that's at that time, and still is, the Gracies.
Yep.
You know, and the Gracies knew the ground game. And so I moved to Brazil to train with the best of the best. When I wanted to join an outlaw motorcycle club, well, there's only one outlaw motorcycle club. It's the biggest, baddest club in the world, and that's the Hells Angels. So, boom, I joined the Hells Angels, right? And now I'm going to go climb the biggest, baddest mountain in the world. Well, I got to climb with the biggest, baddest climbers in the world, and that's the Sherpas. And so I just dropped everything and moved to Nepal and lived in the Himalayas with the Sherpa family, and we just climbed, man, every week. We just climbed.
Why Mount Everest?
Because it's the biggest, baddest mountain in the world.
But why climb? Why go from, you went from basically being bedridden and them telling you you're not going to do shit to being like, you know what, I want to climb mountains?
Yeah, because, man, hey, listen, man, when you're like, you know, bouncing in New York City and you're riding with the baddest motorcycle club in the world, and next thing you know, you're laying on a hospital bed and you got some nurse that's wiping your ass. You know, that kind of takes your manhood away from you, you know, and that was a real hard thing for me. And so I had to just, you know, I had to go prove to myself that this isn't my life now. You know, there's more to it, and I can overcome all this. And so that's why I had to take on the biggest challenge in the world, which is climbing Everest.
And does that kind of feed your endorphin rush? Are you looking for that feeling, that high?
Yeah, I mean, look, man, when you have a motorcycle wreck where you almost die, you know, your life could be taken from you like that.
It wasn't your fault, right? You got hit.
Yeah, of course it was my fault, man. I was racing. I was being an idiot on a motorcycle, driving 100 miles an hour.
That'd be your fault.
That'd
be your fault.
San Fernando Valley. And so
definitely your fault.
Yeah. So anyway, so fast forward, boom, I finally, you know, I climb Everest. I accomplish it. Now I'm like, wow, you know what? There's nothing I can. I'm a man again.
What next?
I'm a man again, you know?
Yeah.
And so then I decided, like, it's always the big question, what's next? What's after Everest? And so I decided, all right, I'm going to climb every biggest, baddest mountain, highest mountain on every continent on the whole planet Earth, you know, the 7 summits. And so when I decided to make that move, I said, you know what? This probably isn't just about Tim. I should probably do something for somebody else. And I was watching television one day. It was like Veterans Day, and there was a Marine that got burnt beyond, you know, recognition. And he was stood up at this podium, and he was talking about how much he loved his country, and he'd go back to the war tomorrow if they let him, and you know, he doesn't regret a day of his life. And like, man, I was like,
amazing.
You know, I don't care how tough you are, man. You choke up.
I agree.
And it was like the light bulb went off. That's it, man. I'm gonna get involved and help fix our house. You know, let these guys know that I haven't forgotten about them.
Yeah.
And so hence the Heroes Project was born. And then I realized that, you know, I have a lot to offer these guys, because when you get your leg blown off or both your legs blown off, you're in the hospital bed and you got the nurse wiping your ass just like she was wiping my ass. And so it's like you lose your manhood. And so I knew I found my manhood again through climbing these big mountains
Yeah.
that people die on. And so I just kind of grabbed the guy like Charlie and all these other guys and said, come on, man, we're going to go climb a mountain.
And then is there a middleman, Charlie, between you and Tim? Like, how did you get connected with Tim?
Yeah, so Tim and I met through another buddy of mine, Mark Zambon. So Mark and I served in Afghanistan in the Sangin region at the same time, and Mark stepped on an IED 2 weeks before I did. So Mark lost both his legs above the knee, and then 2 weeks later, I stepped on an IED. And
Same thing. You were just on
foot
a
patrol.
mission, foot
yeah,
patrol.
Yeah, so we were explosive ordnance disposal, so EOD, like the Hurt Locker, the Hollywood movie, right?
Yeah.
Where you see guys in bomb suits and go out and take care.
That
of
was you.
Yeah,
No, this is the real deal, Hurt Locker,
Yeah,
right
yeah.
here, man.
Yeah,
This ain't
yeah.
no Hollywood bullshit.
Yeah.
Jeremy Renner, no
yeah.
offense, Jeremy, but this is the real dude right
Yeah,
here.
no,
man.
fuck you, Jeremy. No.
Yeah, so
I got you.
I
man.
like this show.
Yeah.
so what we do is, we mitigate explosive hazards. So we're always called out. It's not like we just walk around and maybe step on IED. The only time we get called out is for an IED. So like our percentage to step on stuff goes up through the roof, right? So unfortunately, Mark stepped on IED, lost both his legs. 2 weeks later, I did the same thing.
Bro, first of all, back up. How do they decide who's going to be the guy who walks around
It's all
looking for
voluntary.
IDs?
So
You volunteered for that?
Yeah, when I joined the Marine Corps, I volunteered for the infantry. Like it was, we were in 2 wars. It was like, I want to go see combat. I'm not just going to go be in the military and do type on a computer like a keyboard. I want to go to combat. And so I went to the infantry. My first deployment was Fallujah, pretty rough, and then worked with EOD over there, and I saw a better life. Their job was better. So, like, the mission of the Marine Corps infantrymen is to locate, close with, and destroy. Now, however badass you want to think that is, I watched these EOD guys walk down on bombs, just nut up and walk down and take care of something that's meant to kill you and other people.
And you thought that was badass?
It's a better job. Yeah, you're saving lives. Like, to me, to save a life was better than to take a life. I mean, we can go out there and take lives all day. That's war. But to go out there and save my fellow brothers, because I saw the carnage that IEDs do.
It's insane.
And I felt that I had the temperament, that I would be good at that job, and got back and was like, sign me up.
You were
volunteer.
such a badass.
I-
You were way tougher than me and Tim. So
Yeah.
but let's back up even more. This is crazy. So what made you want to get into the military?
It was I did a year of college, and I was just immature punk, wasn't ready for college, and then I had some buddies.
Did you flunk out of college? What were you doing? Partying too much?
I was
Girls?
just working. I was just, I just really wasn't ready. Like I just in college, and it wasn't like partying or whatever.
What year is this?
What was it? 2005.
Okay, so September 11th already happened.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
September 11th happened. I remember the whole. I was in high school when September 11th happened, and then fast forward when we graduated, I had buddies that went in and were either in the military or were killed in the military, and so it was something very near and dear to me, and decided that it was something that I can do, service to something other than yourself, right?
Yeah.
And I just went for it. I literally went to the office, said, "Hey, I want to be in the infantry. You can't give that to me. I'm walking out right now." And the recruiter's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Whoa, man, whoa, yeah.
whoa! I'll take care of you. Don't worry."
Damn.
Went out and took the test, and comes back, and I was a fairly intelligent guy. They're like, "You sure you want infantry? You could do all these other jobs."
Yeah, you
I said,
seem
"No,
like
no.
a smart dude.
No, I want to go to combat. I'm not gonna go, counter intel. I want to go somewhere where I'm on the front lines with my brothers, and fight." And a week later, I was in boot camp on the yellow footprints in MCRD, and never looked back. I enjoy every minute of it.
So if you could go back in time, you'd do it all again.
I'd do it all again, and I just wouldn't step on a bomb, and I'd still be doing it today.
Yeah. Damn, that is crazy. So then, fast forward. So you step on this bomb, let both legs blown off.
No,
For the
no.
listeners, let's describe this.
No, I was lucky. You ever see like Willy Wonka at the Chocolate Factory? He pulls the golden ticket out.
Yeah.
I stepped on a 15-pound device, and it wasn't a high-order detonation. It was a low-order detonation. So I lost my right leg below the knee. I mean, that's like winning the lottery,
Really?
I mean, that's
because
like,
if it was a
getting the
bigger
Powerball
bomb,
number.
it's over.
It was 15 pounds. If the entire 15 pounds had gone off, I mean, I would have been double, and then I've got some damage to this hand. I've probably been a triple amputee. So, winning $50 million is great, but having, as many of your limbs as possible
Priceless.
is priceless.
Priceless.
Yeah, exactly.
That should be the next
So
American
for me,
Express
next
commercial.
Amex commercial.
Yeah, right? Come on, man.
I remember stepping on the bomb, right? Boom! The ringing in your ears. That
Were you
whole thing.
concussed?
Yeah, I was knocked out. I woke up and I was in the seat at the blast, because obviously the blast shoots like the dirt and debris everywhere.
Yeah.
You come down and you're kind of like, I was like laying back, and I knew what happened, and I went to go like rub the dirt out of my eyes, and like my bone was scratching my face on my hand. I was like, that's nice.
Wow.
Cool. And then I looked down, and it's like, oh, that's even better. But
Were you freaked out?
no. I mean, EOD guys, that's what you respond to like all day, every day.
Yeah.
And so you see the carnage of what war, the cops.
So it becomes the normal for you.
It does become the normal. And actually, both of my teammates were seriously wounded. Both lost multiple limbs.
From you stepping on that bomb?
No, different bombs, separate
wow.
bombs. And I think that it was a joke to all of us, like, hey, I don't care if I lose my legs, just let's not lose our hands.
Yeah.
His hands are infinitely more important than your legs, And so it becomes like a callous or numbness that you get to it. You know that it's not like a, if, it's just a when. If you're there long enough,
That's
it's going to happen
insane,
to
man.
you. Yeah, so.
So then once you lose a limb, there's no way you're going back in service, right? It's over after then?
You can. I mean, mine wasn't just a limb. Like my back's totally shot. So to wear the heavy body armor and carry all the weight, I just can't do it anymore. I mean, I could suck it up and take painkillers and do it, but I wouldn't be as efficient. I knew that if I went back overseas, I wouldn't be the best that I could be.
And is it your choice? It's your call? Like with the U.S. military?
Yeah, they would let me stay in, but they told me I couldn't deploy anymore overseas, so I could go do like an office job. And once you go be an infantryman and then you take apart bombs, like an office job, that's not.
Yeah, no.
It's not for anybody, right?
Yeah,
it's like you get in the ring and they say, okay, you can never go in the ring again. But
that's like me going to work at LA Boxing,
right?
For the front
exactly.
desk. It's like what? And then I watch these soccer moms come in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's insane, man. So then you get out. You obviously have to go through rehab.
Right, and so I went through rehab, and then that's where I entered Tim in the Heroes Project, and through Mark climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and I watched his whole recovery process with the Heroes Project and how much stronger that made him, and not just from the physical impact, but the spiritual impact.
Mentally, right? That's the biggest thing. I heard Tim talk about it, and your buddy Mark he's on the 60-minute part, correct?
Yeah.
And if you guys haven't seen that, I'll tweet out a link when the show airs on the 60-minute part. It's insane because you can tell Mark he's missing both legs, correct?
Well, so Mark, there's been a few of the guys. The 60-minute, actually, the most of the story is about a guy named Isaac Blount, who was a Marine, lost both his legs.
Yeah, that's the one I saw.
Lost his eye, lost some of his fingers, both his testicles, and half his penis. And boom, next thing you know, cut to he's on a mountain, climbing this badass mountain, one of the worst storms I've ever been in.
It looks horrible. 60-mile winds. You guys are trapped for 2 days.
Yeah, we were pinned down to the tent for 3 days, and this kid was just like, just when you think you're tough, here comes a kid with missing as many limbs as he has, and he just gets out of that tent, and I'm like, look, man, you don't make it to this certain point today, you're going back down. And he's just like,
yeah, there's a point in the show on the 60-minute piece where you say, listen, man, you need to get going here because if we don't make it to this certain point on the mountain, we got to turn around. This whole mission's over.
And he took off, and man, he was just a bat out of hell. I mean, talk about drive and piss and vinegar.
There's a little bit of an omen because in that storm, it created like an ice storm, and it created it almost made it kind of slippery, right, and like harder for him to get
the
going.
ground was harder, so he wasn't like post-holing. He wasn't dropping into the snow as much.
So he said he got going a lot faster.
And man, we had a hard time catching him.
Really?
With all my limbs, So.
And you describe it in the 60-minute piece where, and I'm sure you can vouch for this, is Charlie's where. Really, I mean, physically, yes. Physically, it's going to be a struggle, but really the mental battle is where it comes into play.
Yeah, listen, man, the physical part gets you only so far. And then it gets to that point where you're having this battle inside you where you're just, your one side of your mind is saying, all right, man, we're at like 10,000 feet already. Look how much we've gone so far. This is good. Let's just go back now,
Yeah.
And that's the part where the other side of you says, no, it's summit or bust.
Yeah,
man.
you're finishing
And
this.
that's where the mental part comes in, the spiritual part and the emotional part comes in.
And on average, how long does it take to climb Mount Everest?
Well, Mount Everest is 2 months. That's
Hold up.
yeah.
Hold the fuck
It's a little
up.
different than the rest of them.
Evan, did you know that?
I had a completely fucked interpretation of how long it takes to climb.
I gotta be. I feel
was like-
stupid. I feel stupid.
I thought 4 days.
No.
I gotta be honest.
days.
I thought it was 2 days. I thought you up and down.
Yeah, 2
That'd be
months.
nice.
2 months.
What the fuck?
Yeah, we leave on Tuesday, and we will be back sometime in June.
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
shit!
2 months. 2 months in a tent with this guy.
And you've
Yeah.
Well, we had 3 years together already, so 2 months is
You're
fine.
good, right? It's
No,
like,
like, that's like-
you can put up with his stories. You've heard it a million times.
It's like, you know, it's,
You're like, all right, we get it. You're in the Hell's Angels.
Listen, man,
my
I got
wife. 2 more months and you're done, divorced.
Yeah, I got to tell you, like, most of the guys, I train them for, 6 months to a year.
So there's a little bit of a training camp before
Yeah, for
you.
sure.
'Cause you just
yeah.
don't go fucking
No
straight
way, man.
to Mount
every,
Everest.
Every single mountain that I've been on with these guys, I don't take them to the Hollywood sign. I mean, we take them to mountains that people statistically die every single year. And every single mountain that we've been on, we've had a death. Every single one.
You guys have had a day.
Oh, yeah, even on Kilimanjaro.
What?
Even on Kilimanjaro, a Danish
other
guy.
climbers.
Yeah.
Other climbers.
Yeah,
Not on my
someone's
team.
died.
I've never lost a guy.
You never lost a guy.
Never lost
Oh, I
a
thought
guy.
you were saying every
That's
time
not-
we
that's not
go,
good press.
someone
Whoa, whoa.
dies.
Whoa, whoa.
Like, holy shit, bro.
No,
you might
no,
need a new
no.
job.
I know. I haven't lost a guy
Our
yet.
success rate's about 50%. They usually die.
Yeah, but I mean, it's funny, talking about that. But in reality, man, is that I truly believe that you got to put these guys in harm's way to really get their manhood back, to get them to be the Marine that they were. If you get a guy like Mark or Charlie, and they're walking around with an M60 on their back, and they got a whole platoon of guys, or staff sergeants, and people are looking up to them and listening to them, and next thing you know, they're laying in their hospital bed with both their legs blown off, and then they're in a wheelchair, and you're wheeling down the road, and people are like, oh, can I help you? You need some help? Can I help you push you through? That's here you are, this big badass Marine. And now you get people that are like looking down on you in this wheelchair. Yeah,
The pity look.
the pity look.
Don't you pity me.
It's the worst, huh?
Like, lady, you don't know where I've been, what I've seen. Don't pity me. Just
Yeah, you're not gonna. You can't
I'll figure
take them
this out.
hiking the Hollywood sign. after
So
a
here's
badass
so that's
like
where I'm
this.
going with that. Is that, there's a lot of great organizations out there, a lot of great foundations. Down in Huntington Beach, they do this like adaptive surfing program. They have like an adaptive fishing, adaptive golf. Adaptive skiing. They do they bring wounded guys out to like Vail, Colorado, and teach them how to ski, and things like that. And I mean, they're all great causes. They're great programs for these guys, and it might benefit some of them. But for a guy that's like Charlie, who's a Marine, who defused 20, 30 bombs in a day, who's a staff sergeant and a whole platoon of guys under his command, and now I'm gonna go take him, surfing for the day.
Right.
I mean,
I was just gonna say that. What the
I
fuck
have
you-
to, yeah, I have to put him
Fun.
back on the battlefield to get him to become a Marine again, and so that's why I believe fully that I have to put him in harm's way, and that's bringing him to dangerous mountains.
So do they sign a waiver like
Oh,
yo,
yeah, yeah,
before
yeah,
we
yeah.
go on this
I got all kinds
4-month
of
journey?
I got
you
all
gotta
kinds
sign
of
this
I got all
waiver.
kinds of waivers, but in insurance policies and all this, but it's like it's a little dodgy because you get a lot of people that are writing checks that are supporting the foundation, and God forbid Charlie doesn't come back. It's like, what are you thinking? Taking a guy with one leg up to Mount Everest, he's an American war hero. You just killed him, and my $100 check just supported
Yeah.
that death of him. But it all comes down to two things, and that's risk versus reward. And I feel strongly enough that the risk, the
100%.
reward outweighs the risk.
Yes, sir.
And so, to put Charlie on top of the world, I mean, boom, there he is, a Marine again.
So
You
Charlie,
know?
you're just getting ready for this journey.
We actually leave for this journey on Tuesday.
Yeah.
The journey, the preparation has been the last 2 years. I mean,
So you've been preparing to climb Mount Everest for 2 years.
Yeah.
right? Tim and I mean, from the moment Tim said, well, "Do you want to climb Mount Everest?" and I agreed, it's like, okay, now I've agreed to this. I need some skills.
Yeah.
I need some skills here. You
And
know?
what kind of training goes into this?
So like I was telling you before, is that most of the guys, it's 6 months to a year of training, and so but when you got a mountain, and all the mountains are dangerous, but a mountain like Mount Everest, where statistically for every 5 people that go to the summit, only 4 come down. That's a fact. In the next few weeks, you're going to be sitting at home in your underwear in front of your computer, and you're going to be reading on there that someone died on Everest. It's a fact of climbing Everest. The first time I climbed it, we had 13 guys that died. The second year I climbed,
13?
second year I did it, there was 11 guys that died, And last year we were on Everest and we had 16 guys died. Sherpas died in an avalanche.
What do they usually die from? Slipping, falling?
Avalanches, not turning around, going back when they should have, being pinned down in a storm, cerebral edema where your brain, swells up, pulmonary edema where your lungs fill up with water. The human body is not meant to survive at 29,000 feet. That's the same altitude that you're flying from LA to New York in an airplane.
Damn.
But so with a mountain like Everest, I couldn't just train Charlie for 6 months to a year. I had to make sure that he was a fully rounded climber where, if God forbid I die in the mountain, he can get himself down. If I fall into a crevasse, I know that he can get me out. If he falls in, he knows he can get out himself if I died. And so it all goes back to, the great Vince Lombardi's quote, right? Failing to prepare is preparing to fail.
Yeah.
Right? And the same thing with training for a fight. You better be prepared. And so it's been a 2-year journey with Charlie. I mean, we've been down to Ecuador and climbing in the Andes. We've been in the Sierras. We've been in the volcanoes in Mexico. We've been, mountaineering courses. We've done rock climbing. Argentina, the highest mountain in South America. Yeah, man, because you know what? I want him fully prepared. You wouldn't go take on some fighter like, that guy right there, if you weren't prepared, right?
Yeah, no, you're right.
So he's ready, man. And so it's been a long journey, and here we are, we're leaving in 3 days.
Are you nervous, Charlie? There has to be a little bit of nervous. I know you've been on these tours and all that and that stuff, but this is different.
It's hard to say the nerves come in right now. I mean, when we get to base camp, I think that's when it's really gonna hit you.
Go time.
Now it was still in preparation mode. Get all the gear. Do you have everything? It's just so make sure you're totally prepared to go. You have all the gear. You've got everything ready and prepared, and your training's taking you to this point. The nerves, I think, will kind of maybe settle in, creep in a little bit once you're there.
Yeah.
Now it's just all the hard work is coming to the culmination. It's ready to get on the plane and actually go do the climb.
And what's your wife think of this? If it wasn't enough getting blown up, now you're climbing the most dangerous mountain in the world.
Yeah. So, originally when I told my family I'd agreed to climb Everest, of course they just kind of the eye shrug, why?
Yeah.
First the infantry, then EOD, and then you get blown up, and then to make things worse, you recover, and now you want to go climb a really dangerous mountain. Why would you do that?
Your parents are like, dear God, when will this stop?
But my entire family, they know that's my personality. I've never shied away from a challenge in my life.
Yeah.
And Everest has been the biggest challenge I think that I'll ever undertake, especially being an amputee and climbing the mountain. But my entire family, including my wife and everybody, has been very supportive. It's been a long, arduous journey for all of us.
So they're just ready for it to be done.
Yeah, it's been a lot of time away. I mean, obviously, we just described all the places we've gone. I mean, that's
crazy,
that's
man.
2, 3, 4 weeks at a time, plus the 2 months that you're going to Everest. I mean, it's just been a lot of time away. But, in order to be successful and not die on the mountain, this has all had to be done.
Yeah, you had to make sacrifices.
And so they also understand the importance of the mountain and what the climb means to me. So they've been in my corner.
You must love it, though. You don't climb Everest without love doing it. There's a whole goal, and I get that, but you must love some aspect of climbing and being with Tim.
I love that.
I don't
know if I love being with Tim.
Yeah, you'd have to, man.
No, we're definitely great friends now through this whole journey. But the challenge I think that it presents, I think not even just being a wounded veteran, but just for man in general, pushing yourself to your limits, and the limits of man is appealing to me, just as going and fighting and trying to beat somebody else, is appealing. But then the added challenge for me is that when I got blown up, it was who are you now? Who are you with this injury? Is this injury going to control your life, or are you going to control it and be on top? And getting to the summit of Mount Everest is going to show not just me, but my entire family and everybody that sees the climb that human beings are capable of doing anything.
Just put your mind to it.
Just how strong a will do you have?
And do you have kids?
I do have 2 daughters.
You have 2 daughters. How old are they?
They are 4 and 7, and so that's another thing. When they get older, when you sit down and say, this is what your dad did after he got blown up in war, and
Dad's a badass.
Yeah, and hopefully it will resonate with them and inspire them to do great things in their life.
Yeah, hopefully they don't cry when they're like going through cheerleading practice, stub their
Right.
toe. Like, you shut your mouth.
I do
You know
that
who your
now.
dad is?
I do that now. My daughter stubs her toe, and I'd be like, that'd be really nice to have toes to stub.
That toe must hurt. I wish I had a toe. Shut your mouth.
Then he goes and gives him the finger.
yeah.
Somebody got a whole new
Bro,
middle finger
bro,
there.
why you gotta go? Why you gotta go there?
Flip him off, would you please?
You know,
You
in
know?
traffic,
Please.
in LA traffic, it's the best finger. Nobody's offended. They just think you're shaking your fist at them.
They're like, right on, my man.
Yeah.
Right,
Like,
appreciate the
you know,
service.
honking
Sorry
the
I
horn.
cut you off. That's a nice guy. You're all, fuck you, man.
None the wiser. It's great. The greatest finger in traffic.
Got the half a middle finger.
You're right. This after you know, I've been around some military guys, especially after they come back from war. I think the biggest thing is, and I'm not trying to relate it to sports at all. There's nowhere near the comparison, especially if I cannot stand when people say, oh, it's going to be a war. We're not killing each other. There's no war. I hate when people say that in the UFC.
There's EMS on standby.
Dude, it's like, yeah, exactly. No one's going to die. We're all going to be fine. We signed up for this. It's fun. It's a sport. But in war, you guys are used, you see this horrible things, right? Your buddy's getting blown up, buddy's dying, stuff like that. And you're used to protecting and serving, and then it stops. And then you come back to the States, and you're freaking taking your kids to school and making their sack lunch and stuff like that, right? So I feel like there has to be some sort of gap we can fill in, and obviously Tim's doing a huge part of this, but there has to be a part where you guys need help, and there has to be recognition where it's like, man, we have to help these guys because they're serving the country and they're suffering, you know, terrible consequences. And then when we get done, it's like, thanks for service, man. Welcome back. Nah, man. Nah, it's not that's not going to work. That's not good enough for me. We need more guys like Tim, and we have to create some sort of kind of gap between that. Does that make sense? Because from what I see, the military guys I know is, and don't take this the wrong way, but they're pretty messed up. They're pretty, from what they've seen, and if they've been, you know, if the stuff they've seen, the people they've killed, stuff like that, they come back and they're just not the same. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. So I remember before I went to Iraq, you know, young little Marine, woohoo, excited to go, you know. And about 2 weeks in, it's like, wow, this sucks. When I'm ready to go home, you know. But that's not what you're trained to do, and that's not your job. And so you do come back different. I remember I came back, and my family just looked at me and said I didn't really talk much, and you know, they just knew from a visual standpoint I was different. And you have to operate in such a different way when you go to war. I mean, you just assume that everybody's out to kill you, everything's there to kill you, and so that mentality never leaves you.
How could it? There's no
hard.
way you can just turn that off.
Tim and I have had conversations. Like, I still at home, when I drive down the road and I see a bag of trash in the middle, I'll still swerve around it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in Boise, Idaho. You know,
Yeah.
There's not a bomb in the trash, but it's still so deeply ingrained in the way I operate every day. You know, hypervigilance. I mean, most of veterans have it. I mean, how can you not? You just can't throw that aside and say, okay, I'm in a safe place now.
There's no way, man.
No, it's
and these guys, the guys I know, you know, in high school or college, I knew them. They were these colorful, outgoing guys. And then when you get put in a situation like that, they come back and they're so serious. They're very serious. You can tell they've suffered and they've seen suffering, and they're just not the same.
And that's where America comes in.
I agree.
And that's where, you know, why we're on your show today. You know, we're leaving in forever in 3 days. You know, we got 100 things to do and getting all our gear and stuff. And we took the time out to come here. And it's because, you know, we want your listeners, you know, to let these guys know that, hey, man, you know, we haven't forgotten about you guys.
Heck no.
You know, I mean, everybody in this freaking town is so concerned about whether Bruce Jenner is going to be a freaking girl or a guy, or what the Kardashians did or what Justin Bieber did, or, you know, let's go find Coney over in Africa and, you know, and drill some water, you know, drills in Africa, whatever. And, you know, they're all great causes and everything, but it's like, you know what, man? Let's take a look at our own backyard. We got some fixing to do. A lot of these guys come back, and you don't see that stuff on the news. You only see on the news is the Jenner and the Biebers and all that crap you see on the news, because these guys aren't newsworthy anymore. And that's where I'm coming on your show to let your listeners know that, hey, man, you know what? let's let these guys know that we haven't forgotten about you, and we appreciate what you did for this country, and I appreciate what you did for me.
Yes, sir.
You know, and I've never served in the military, you know, so this is just my way of just being a proud American, let them know. And so we need your listeners' support as well, you know, to stop worrying about fixing the world. Let's fix our own house first, and that's why we're here. So.
No, I mean, I'm only one veteran, and I'm fortunate enough that the Heroes Project and I got together.
And the Heroes Project helps how many guys a year? Any idea?
We help one guy at a time, which is kind of funny because it started out where I got this idea. I'm gonna help these guys out and do something for them, but I had no money, you know, so I can only afford to take one guy on these climbs. You know, they're not cheap, these climbs, but I can only afford one guy. And so what started out as starting a foundation that only helps one guy turned out to be like a blessing in the end, because one of the guys said to me when it was all done, he's like, man, like, you know, the Heroes Project feels like, you know, we can make a larger impact on one guy's life rather than make a little impact on a lot of guys' lives. And so we take one guy, like it's been like me and him have been attached to the hip for the last 2 years, man.
Yeah.
And so when everything's focused on one guy, you know, you really make a huge impact on his life, you know, because it's not about 20 different guys and getting him to the summit. It's just about one guy, and that's all I care about is getting him to the summit, you know, and letting
Change
him
his life forever.
Yeah, man. And so, but how do we reach the other 50,000 guys
agree.
who've been injured, you know, since the invasion of Iraq in 2003? Well, I bring a camera guy, and so I just so happen to have, like, you know, there's only like a handful of guys who can actually climb Everest, climb these big badass mountains, and film it, you know, and so I actually, you know, have them guys that come with us. And so I have one camera guy that films it. And so we have all this radical footage, man. Like the most, I don't care how tough you are, man. You're watching a guy missing limbs stand on top of a mountain and he's crying like a girl on the summit, man.
I couldn't do it. I'll be dead honest with you. I couldn't do it.
And, you know, you watch this, and so now I film it. And so we want to get that film to the masses, to these 50,000 guys that have been injured, and try and affect these guys. And so, and that's where we need everybody's support, you know, from Hollywood, from the fighting community, you know, everybody to, like, let's get this footage out to the masses, you know. And so I'm just one guy, and, you know, we don't have a lot of money. You know, we have 2 fundraisers that we put on twice a year. We rent out the Santa Monica Pier on September 11th, an event called the Cycle for Heroes. And that's, we put out 400 spinning bikes on the pier, and you got to ride for 3 hours.
Oh, amazing.
And then we do an event that's coming up this weekend called Climb for Heroes on Mount Baldy, where everybody goes up and climbs with the guys. And so we're not one of them foundations where we rent out the gold ballroom at the freaking Four Seasons Hotel and you got to put a monkey suit on and pay $500 for a plate of roast beef.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want your money. I want your sweat and your money. You know, and come out and, like, do something,
Do
man.
something.
You know what I mean? Don't just come show up in your, you know, in your Range Rover and get out of your car in your suit and take a picture at the red carpet and write a check for $500. Like,
so for our listeners, how can they help? How can they help the Heroes
Come to
Project?
our 2 events during the year: Climb for Heroes.
That's the only. There's no online thing they can do.
No, of course. I got the heroesproject.org. You know, people can support us. You know, every month they want, they just come out to the events. But for me, you know what? Like, I don't want your listeners to just go, you know what? Okay, I'm going to go to their website. I'm going to mail them a check, or I'm going to go on their PayPal and just donate a few bucks. Like, I want you to come out to our events, you know, and not just, like, write your check, but come out and sweat a little bit, shake Charlie's hand, shake these other guys' hands, thank them for their service, and just look them in the eye and say, hey, man, I haven't forgotten about you, brother. Thanks for what you did for me. You know, I got a good life because of people like you. And come out. And that means more to these guys than just writing a check.
I agree, and I think your message and your story, though, hopefully it inspires more guys to create more Tims in the world, man. That's what we need too. That's what we need, man.
Well, you're the guy, man. You're having us on the show, so thank you.
Oh man, well, yeah, whatever the Fighting Kid can do, whatever we can do, man. Now I can't let you get out of here. I gotta ask you this. We're gonna flip the script here. We got serious for saying. I have got to ask this. When I was researching you, one of the things that came up was Cher. Give it up, Charlie. Give it up, brother.
Man,
what's up with this, man? What's up, my man? I've dated my fair share of celebrities, my man.
You know how this town works, you know.
Yes, I do very well.
So I've been out with her 100 times. You know, I've known her. I built a Harley for her back when I moved out here.
That's where you guys met?
That's where I used to.
I was going to ask you where you guys met.
Harley for her. She's 65 years old and she still rides a Harley. believe it or not.
Damn.
And so, and I've been out 100 times with her, you know, and people most just look at me like, oh, I'm like, must be her bodyguard or her security
You
guy.
100% look like her bodyguard.
Yeah,
yes.
you know. And so, and then all of a sudden, you know, I had to split the crowd at this, you know, in this country bar in Nashville. It was a whole scene. I had to kind of split the crowd and just kind of grabbed her arm and went through the middle, and someone took a picture. Next thing you know, I'm on the cover of Inquirer magazine. We're married. I'm signing a prenup,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean. Like,
So all that's fake.
nah, it's all just a
You're
friend.
just
Man.
friends.
Sorry to disappoint, man.
Oh, no, you didn't disappoint, man.
So-
You didn't disappoint at all.
Dear friend, and she's huge. Actually, she's the one who inspired me to start this foundation. You
She's
know?
a badass, man.
Yeah, because you know she's been supporting the military since before we were born, before I was born. You know, big supporter of the military. And so when I decided to like start doing this, I asked her. I said, "Well, what organizations can I raise money for? Like, who did you donate to? You know, who can I get involved with?" And she goes, "Just do your own thing." And I'm like, "What the fuck? I'm a biker. I'm not. I don't know nothing about running a nonprofit." She says, "Just start your own foundation." And so, boom, 6 months later, got a 501c3
That's
nonprofit,
awesome,
and I'm at Barnes and Nobles at the Grove buying the How to Run a Nonprofit Dummy book. I
Yeah,
own that
yeah.
book,
Which
man.
is still in the office, by the way.
still in the office.
Still
It
in
is.
the office.
It actually comes with a
Business
CD.
for dummies.
It comes with a
All
CD.
right.
It comes with a CD too. Yeah, Charlie loves like reminding me of all this stuff because you gotta understand something. Charlie's from Boise, Idaho, and so now you're breaking my balls on with the whole share thing. So
Yeah.
let me just kind of take your listeners into a Boise, Idaho native, okay, Marine guy, to fast forward to moves to West Hollywood, California.
We don't live in
Okay.
West Hollywood.
We don't live
We
there.
don't live
You're
in
All right,
West
so
close
we're-
enough, my man.
All right, we're
Close, but we don't
okay.
live in West
All
Hollywood.
right, so we're
We-
east. We're east of
just
La
so you know.
Cienega.
Yeah,
Okay, we're
man.
east of La Cienega.
West
so,
Hollywood in my book, my man.
it's pretty close, right?
Yeah.
And
There's a
so,
dividing line.
so I have a contract with Equinox, and they're a big sponsor of the foundation. Which, believe it or not, fancy Equinox gyms is actually a huge supporter of the military, and they've been behind the Heroes Project since its inception.
I see their logo on you guys.
Yeah.
When you're
And so-
climbing the mountains.
So, so when I said to him, I'm like, okay, well, now I'm going to step it up a notch. We're going to take Equinox to the summit of Everest. I need your support. And so I'm bringing Charlie to L.A., and so I want to get him on a whole training program and the trainer and all this. And so Charlie gets in his truck and drives from Boise to Hollywood. And he shows up, and I'm like, all right, man. So we wake up in the morning. We got to get to the gym, right? So I take him to West Hollywood Equinox.
Horrible. Horrible. I don't even know what that place is.
All right, now if anybody's watching the show or listening to this show and have ever been to the Equinox in West Hollywood, remember earlier I was talking about the guys with like the waxed eyebrows?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's West Hollywood Equinox.
Yeah, that's.
And so here comes Charlie right off the boat from Boise, Idaho. And, we drive in my pickup truck and park, and we come up the escalator and turn the corner, and bam, man, there's this like 2-story tall
That was bigger than
Equinox billboard of this dude with makeup on, with a wig on, like a cross-dresser.
Yeah.
And it just says, Equinox made me do it.
Yeah.
And Charlie, I'm like, hey,
Whoa,
man.
whoa,
check
Charlie's like,
that
I'm
out.
good. I'm good on Equinox.
Welcome to West Hollywood, brother.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That wasn't enough. Like, I probably shouldn't go in here right
Yeah, right?
That was his introduction.
Get into the locker room. I'm like, I really shouldn't be here right now.
There's guys, he walks into the locker room, and there's guys that are sitting there blow drying their bodies. That's
Oh, yeah,
like a big
man.
thing now. You know why they do that? Because, the towels that are in the gym don't have a high enough thread count, so they don't want to damage
They
their
don't wanna touch-
skin, man. This
Yeah.
is the town that
Bro,
we live
that,
in, man.
that West Hollywood Equinox, I had a friend who worked there. They had to shut down the steam room and give a warning out because
There's
guys
a
were in
sign
that
on
steam
it.
room.
Yeah, there's
like,
a sign
hooking
on
up,
it, man.
So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Watch
So-
your back, John.
Yeah.
Watch your back
You
when
need
you're
to
Say
say
that
doing
was
it.
the first and only time I went to that. I go to a different one.
Like,
now.
he's used to working at, World Gym in Boise, Idaho.
Yeah,
you know?
right? Big farm boys.
Like
Yeah.
every vehicle in the parking lot is a pickup truck.
Right?
And now
man.
fast forward to West Hollywood Equinox, man.
Priuses with rainbows on them, my man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's
You just
quite
gotta
a thing.
accept it. It's whatever.
Yeah,
man.
just
Yeah,
roll
yeah,
with it,
no,
man.
it's-
They got that, Brian, they got that, Brendan, they got that, that don't ask, don't tell policy with the
Yeah,
Marine Corps,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So I've been seeing that.
Coming
like,
from the guy that
firsthand,
tried to hold
okay?
my hand in WeHo.
That's great.
So you like Five Guys, you eat Five Guys?
Oh, yeah, the
I'm
burger
s-
joint, right?
Man, I'm sure a lot of your listeners eat at that place.
For
'cause
sure.
You can get like a quad,
Oh,
right? And so the only Five Guys that they got near us is right in West Hollywood, okay?
Sometimes you got to suck it up,
So
man.
I'm like, man, we got to go there, man, you know? And so we go in, have the burgers, you know, and so we're walking down the sidewalk, you know, and so I reach over and I just grab his hand, you know?
Don't make me, bro.
That's them some fighting actions right there.
He about dropped me, man, like right there. in
I
West
love it,
Hollywood.
man. So, Charlie, before we wrap here, let's say you climb Mount Everest. You're obviously going to achieve that, right? We're
Right.
not overlooking it, but let's say you get done with that. Where do you go from there? What's next?
That has
Ballroom dancing.
yeah, right. That question's been asked a lot.
You're all general manager at Equinox in West Hollywood.
Hey, if it pays well,
Right?
Suck it up.
Yeah, suck it up.
Yeah.
Do you have a plan? Or are you just trying to get through Mount Everest and you take it from there?
Get through Everest and take it from there. I mean, there's a whole lot of opportunities that could open up from
sure.
this. So I don't know. I mean,
Is there anything you want to do?
I just want to. Just be a good dad and move on. So I
Yeah.
mean, really, what's next? I think I just take life as it comes. I mean, that's how Everest happened. You know, I never really planned to cimb Mount Everest in my life, but
yeah. You didn't know you were
lo
going
and
to have
behold,
a buddy like Tim?
yeah, I just kind of, I met a Hell's Angel in a Prius.
Hell's Angel and Prius. You're like, what the hell?
It wasn't my Prius,
Yeah.
man, or I was in the passenger seat.
You know,
right?
Tim comes down to San Diego where I'm living. You know, he's going to interview me whether I'm going to go on this climb or not. On a climb, I'm thinking, read up about him. Hell's Angel. Okay, cool, man. Like, it'd be interesting to meet this guy. Pulls up.
In a Prius? Like,
Here comes this like 250-pound dude getting out of a Prius. Is like, that ain't right.
in cut off
Wasn't it-
jean shorts.
Yeah, that-
What's
that
up,
ain't
my
right.
man?
Right, it was
That's not
it
right.
was not my
No,
my Prius.
I got to be
all right?
honest, man. If the Sons of Anarchy, if they were basing a character off Hell's Angel, you would be. When I looked you up, I was like, dude, this dude. If they told me to draw a Hell's Angel, you're what I would draw, man. You
Yeah.
look
Well, not just minus the Prius.
minus the Prius, man, on a chopper.
Yeah, he's going to hit me after the show for that.
He's gonna beat you, man.
I know.
I got to be honest.
Well,
No,
it's
not
great.
until he summits the mountain.
ticket.
For
Yeah,
after
yeah.
the mountain.
After the mountain.
I have a ticket, he can't hurt me until after I summit. When we get down Everest, I'm going to run.
Just
and
take
never stop,
off, bro.
Like
Just
Forrest
take
Gump.
off, man.
I've
Just take
been
off.
making a list, Brendan.
Well, guys, I know you're super busy. I appreciate coming on. Anything I can ever do to help you guys, man, I got your back.
Yeah,
I
come-
didn't know you're in LA, man. We got
Yeah.
to get together
Come
more.
out to one of our events.
You got it.
Deal.
It's done.
All right,
Done.
word.
You got my word.
There you go,
All
everybody.
right,
You've
guys.
seen that. We got his word. He's coming to the event.
Appreciate you guys coming on. Again, where can they find you, man? We're at heroesproject.org.
TheHeroesProject.org. Yep. Really easy.
Charlie, you got Twitter or anything? Are you on social media?
I'm the worst social media guy ever.
You need to get on it for this Everest
I know,
thing,
they
my
keep telling
man.
me that.
You
I'm-
have to.
I'm dragging my feet.
Do it for the Fire and the Kid. Do it for the Fire and the Kid Army. Get on there, man. Let's get some pictures. Get the picture of you guys on Everest.
Yeah, man. I keep telling him. I'm
You
like,
have to, man. That's the way the
most
world
of, you know, when I
works.
post pictures of him and what he's training, like most of the comments come in from women. Like about 80% of them, like, ooh, big
from a
badass Marine.
From a training
right?
aspect, you know how nice
Yeah.
it's not been to have social media and like have to check it and deal with what people are saying, this, that, or the other. Like I'm just like
man.
oblivious to the world. Train, eat, sleep, and train. That's it's been great.
That's probably why you're successful. That makes sense.
80% female.
You have a girl right now? Married? Nothing?
I mean, I got a few.
I would imagine, man. I would imagine.
No, I am single. I am definitely single for sure.
Wait till they get a load of this. You're in trouble, my man. Guys, appreciate you coming on. This is a special edition of The Fire and the Kid. We're out.